And we are live. Hello, hello, Alafia. Greetings. Happy Black Love Day. Hello, hello, hello. Greetings. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Black Love Day, and we are recording live on both YouTube channel and on Facebook. How is everyone doing this afternoon on Black Love Day? Hello and happy Black Love Day to each and every one of you. Somebody's hand that wants to, of course, not someone that does not give you full consent. Let's be careful of who we're touching these days, because you never know who's giving you full consent. And our topic for today is, will the real Christ? God is trying to tell me something. I think he's calling my name. Hush. God is trying to tell me something. I think he, she, or it is calling my name. How is everyone doing today? We must be cognizant of who the real Christ is. First of all, let's break down the terminology of Christ. We've got it all wrong, folks, and no dictionary can tell us. It has to come up through our loins. And God spoke to me and said, hello, hello, how are you? Who is this going live today? I will invite you, come on in, and I've added you. Hello, and thank you so much. I would love for anyone that wants to know. Hello there, Prince. How are you? This is your illustrious Black Love Day. I'd like to wish every one of you a happy Black Love Day. I hope you're not just giving candy and flowers to your significant other, but you're giving them a reason to love. You're giving them an experience. Thank you so much for having me today. And the topic I bring to you, will the real Christ please stand up? Hush. God is trying to tell me something. I think he, she, or it is calling my name. Now, let me break down the terminology. Now, this is coming from according to Omi. Don't go looking it up in the dictionary and say, Omi, you misquoted the dictionary. This is not from the dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary. This is from my gut feeling. The terminology, as I have lived it and known it, the terminology Christ is a title. And it's a title that any one of us can wear. It is not a name, a pronoun, a noun, a descriptive noun or adjective, but it is a title that one could wear. Jesus of Christ. You and I can wear the title of Christ. It is not a name that has been trademarked only for Jesus, the Christ, the morning lily valley of the valley, the way, the bright morning star. It is a title that one can wear, and it was left back here for us to consume and to wear. We are wearing a title. We are wearing a kinship, a behavior. We are wearing a title, and that title allows us to carry ourselves in a specific way. So don't get it twisted that once you wear the title of Christ, that means you're Lord and Savior. No, it does not. We're going to break down some terms here. And what does the term save mean? What are you exactly saved from? This is Black Love Day. Let's break it down, break it down, break it down. We're going to bring it all out and let it all hang out, because this is where we love one another and tell each other the truth. What does the term save mean? When people used to go in the church, they said, I'm saved, sanctified, full of the Holy Ghost, and don't have a mind to want to go back. Saved from the world or saved from yourself? Let's break it down. Most Christians meant that you were set aside. You were not a part of the world. You were in the world, but not a part of it. How could you separate yourself from the world? Were you able to live in a box by yourself? Were you a hermit living down in the gutter by yourself? Well, in reality, we all had to taste of this life. We can be in the world, but we don't have to be of it. That's what the good book did say. Now, you say you're saved and you're set aside. Are you holy? He said, there's none but the Father that's holy. But he said, to be ye holy like I am holy. And we know we miss the mark and we fall short of it. We cannot measure up. And there's none good but the Father. None good but the Father. Right, Kevin? Right, Derek? None good, Joe, but the Father. None good but Father, Amaro. None good but the Father. Let's break this thing down. So how is my YouTube channel doing? Am I doing okay? Are you subscribing down below? Go down below and subscribe and hit that ding dong, ring-a-ding-a-ding. Hit that ding dong bell and make me one of your subscribers. We're talking truths today. This is Black Love Day. If you didn't know it, you're in the house of Omi's production studio. Thank you for joining me live on this day, because you could be in any room at this particular time, and you could be under some rock trying to discover yourself as Jesus. But today you chose to be in the room here where people are following the leader. Thank you so much, Nina, for joining us today. And we're talking about breaking down this terminology of will the real Christ please stand up. We've gotten it wrong. We painted Christ as a blue-eyed, blonde-haired soul brother, standing up, looking as meek as a lamb. But we've forgotten about Oromalai. He was the example of the right-hand man of God. He was the example of the right-hand man of God who we called Christ, who he gave that title to each and every one of us so that we could bear the title of Christ and live in a Christ-like manner. It is not an attitude, it is a behavior. A mouth will say anything, but look at the behavior. Is he conducting he, she, or herself in a Christ-like manner? Will the real Christ please stand up? Are you out there in the audience? Let us all raise our hands up if we think we're carrying ourselves in a Christ-like manner. This is Black Love Day. I want to love on you a little bit today. I want to tell you who you are. I want you to be able to go back in that mutilated book and find the promises that God made to you. He said you would be the head and not the tail. He said you were the foundation that he began to build on. Then you're significant. You mean something. You carry the title of Christ. Yes, God said, and Jesus said, unless I go, that the Comforter will not be able to come back and reside with you. He left, didn't he? Many, many years ago, so they say. But he left us with the Comforter. So why are we hurting? Why do we feel so discouraged? Why do I feel so discouraged? And why does the shadows come? And why does my heart feel so lonely and long for heaven bound? When his eyes on the sparrow, I know he watches over me. And his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches over me. Why are we feeling so discouraged? If his eye is on the sparrow, and God said that Jesus would leave and bring the Comforter to us, why are we so discouraged? Are we wearing the title of Christ, or have we given it to a counterfeit? I think the latter. We have given it to a counterfeit. We've given this title of Christ over to a fictitious false Jesus. And we're allowing some misnomer who don't even exist to wear our title. Our title that was given to us. The Comforter came and left it for us. You must understand, the term saved does not mean that you're saved from this world. You're going to go through things just like the next Joe Blow. God said he's going to let it rain on the just and the unjust. And you will have troubles in your life. You will have losses in your life, and you will have pain and sorrow. But know that God said he will never leave you. Because he's placed himself within your being, you wear the Godhead within your midst. He takes up residency within you to allow you to turn to him and him when you need him. And he's never gone. He's always there at all times. He might not be there when you want him, but he's always right on time. So let's talk about it. We're preaching today. The doors of the church are open. If there's anyone that wants to testify about it, go head on and testify about it, because this is Black Love Day. This is the time for you to stand up and declare the reason why you have hope in your Savior. And you must understand that that hope has been placed in you. You are the real Savior. You are the one that the title Christ and place on. Give it to yourself, because your head and yourself has. There's none but the Father that's good, but he did give you the title to wear. You're the champion. You're wearing the title now, just like Muhammad Ali wore the title. And did not he perform and let people know that he was the champ? Just like Ali said that he was the one that was going to knock a brother out. You carry the same title, and you can walk around and boast about your Christ-like title. There's none good but the Father. And Jesus said, I and the Father are one. When you've seen the Father, when you've seen me, you have seen the Father. I are one, telling you that you are the Father and you are the Christ-like being. Don't get it twisted. Some have told you many lies, and some have fallen, your words have fallen upon stony ground, and they have not taken root. For those of you whose words have fallen upon stony ground and it hasn't taken root, good for you. Now you can learn the real truth. Now you can know what Christ is all about. Christ is a behavior. It is an attitude. It is a conduct. And we must all be in the midst of carrying ourselves in that conduct. Not just on Black Love Day, but every day. We must make it up in our minds that we are going to live and we will not die. We are reincarnated individuals and we will live. And we will come back several times, and we will reside upon this earth because we are frequency. Maybe the flesh will fall to the ground, back to the dust, but the spirit man, who God placed a spirit in, will live eternal. We will possess a soul because we're the only ones that God gave a soul to. His first original people possess a soul. All those other are kind of a human. They're not humankind. We are the only ones that possess a soul. The Caucasians will tell you this, but you a soul man or woman. You have a soul. Yes, they have a spirit, but they do not have a soul. Aren't you glad about that Christly attitude? You can possess a soul today, soul brother and soul sister. Why don't you stand up and tell somebody, I got a soul and I'm more James Brown. I'm a soul. Now, when they made up this story, I want you to know that Christianity was a borrowed that manifested itself on Turtle Island. It was stolen from the ancient ones over in Egypt. And when they stole that story went something like this. There was Horus, Heru, and Aset, and not Jesus, God, and the Holy Ghost. What is the Holy Ghost? Is it a title like Christ that you can wear? Or who is this title? And why did they, Trinity of Heru, Horus, why did they take Isis out of the picture? Because the men who stole Isis out of the picture did not believe in the Trinity of a female being existent. So they took Isis out and replaced it with a fictitious ghost. Knowing that Africans are afraid of ghosts and they fear ghosts, so now we're fearing God, and we are not to fear God. God is our friend. We are not to fear God. But yet the Trinity's got us fearing this so-called God, and is a feminine spirit. So that is the spirit of a woman, number one. Number two, one that had an immaculate conception. Was God racist? Was he discriminative? Had showed partiality? Why did God not have all of womankind having? Every woman that bores a male child is experiencing an immaculate conception. Did you hear me? Every woman that bores a male child is experiencing an immaculate conception. Mary was the XX chromosome, and she had to have a Y chromosome to produce a male child. And if no man was there, and if a ghost came in and impregnated her, we can produce an X chromosome. And it takes an X and a Y chromosome to produce a male. And Mary no X chromosome. She knew no Y chromosome. She only had the XX chromosome. So how did she produce an immaculate conception? And was she in her virgin stage when she got pregnant and was in a trial? It tells you that Mary was in a trial marriage. She was not to fornicate. She was not to have sex. She was not to have intercourse. So when she did, it was in the virgin stage of her relationship, of her trial marriage, that she produced that child with her XX chromosome, and with the male's Y chromosome. She produced a real gene that was not of some ghost. And let us not continue to let someone destroy our mentality by saying that God would defy science. God will not defy science. Science has to stand. So X and Y chromosome president to produce any child. So we got to debunk these lies, because now they're coming out in Nova on television. They're telling the truth that Mary was only working with the XX chromosome, and sin back there at the time when Mary had her child didn't even exist. Neither did the letter J in the dictionary for Jesus. So there's some lies being told here. We're going to get free today. And this is where Black love frees you up to be able to believe the real truth and nothing but the truth, Ruth. Now let's get on with it. We know there's no immaculate conception. And we know that Jesus functioned among. Joseph was a man of tradition. He took a wife. Moses was a man of tradition. He took a wife. And in the house of David, he also took a house. And in the house of David, it trickled all the way down that they all must take a wife and they all must bear children. So why would Jesus differ and sway away from tradition? Why would Jesus be out to lunch when tradition was coming his way? And tradition was to be reinforced in his life. So to go to heaven, to go between the legs of a woman, to penetrate, why was he denied that option and given the right to be a part of the LGBT? Now he was in, like a man that would work his magic with another man. Why was he given that desecrated title of being someone that was a monk? Would God do this to his children? No. If we, being evil, can give good gifts to our children, how much more, Heavenly Father? Yes. We've been dealing with some misnomers, and we've been dealing with some lies, and it's time to break down the barriers of those lies so we can get free, so we can embrace the real Christ. Will the real Christ please stand up? You can stand up. Go right ahead. There's none good but the Father. Now let's break this thing down. Now you have salvation. Can man give salvation to man, or is it God who gives salvation to you, or out your salvation? God told us to walk out our salvation. How is it that you can believe that you have gained salvation from entering into a false Christianity which man has created? Now, Christ is a title, and there's many names for Christ. Bright and morning star. There's many names. El Shaddai, the ever-loving Father. There are many names for Christ because these are attitudes, these are behavior, these are names that are given. But we still say that God and Jesus are one. No, they're not one. They have their own identity. Jesus was our eldest brother. If he did walk the face of this earth, he would have been our eldest brother. And there's even some documentation to prove that he might not have ever walked the face of this earth, the Jesus that we know. Nevertheless, let's carry on with this falsehood and map it out so you can see it's all fallacy. It's all someone has jinxed us and stole our Jesus away, and they don't want you to know that Oromola was the real Jesus. Oromola was stolen. The whole concept was stolen. It should have been given. He was there at the inception of each of us, and he knew when we kneel down to pray and we kneel down to tell him what our destiny was. Oromola is your real creator. Oromola was there at your inception. But how is it that Jesus could be himself and God? It ain't possible. He would be a schizophrenic. Let's come to reason today. When people walk around here and say God and Jesus are one, that's a lie. It cannot be true. God would not be God if he compromised himself and came off that throne to come down here, because he gave man and woman dominion over this earth and told them to subdue it. He has no business here on this earth. He will not take up residence down here. Then he would be less than God. He would be a man. And then we could not accept him as God. Limited himself not. So all of these things we've been told we could grow up to be a God just like him. To grow up to be a God just like him, God needed to see, God was alone. He had no other person, and he needed to be able to reside within us. And residing within us will allow him to take up residency with us and be continuous. Hold up. Hello? Hello? Hey. Oh, thank you. Oh, it's going good. Where you at? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you for wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving. Happy holiday to you for Valentine's Day. Yeah, you better get something to eat. I was waiting for Frank to get back to me. I told him we was thinking about coming out there to watch Deja, so I'm gonna give him a call today. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, well then when you get home, you can give me a call and join my show. Okay, talk to you later. Bye bye. I had to take that call. Sorry about that. As we were in, I'm going to take roll call here and see who's all in the house today. And these screens are really doing a job here. Let me close this curtain back here. Maybe we can get some better perception. Oh, that's a lot better. Okay, that's a lot better. So now we can see what's going on here. All right. How's everyone doing? I want to do roll call here. Let's see who's all with us today and how is the YouTube channel doing. If you're out there, I'd like for you to sign up and I'd like for you to give me 2 thumbs up and tell me how I'm doing. Subscribe to my channel. You'll be glad that you did, and ring that bell. Make sure you ring that bell and subscribe and leave your comments below. Once again, hello, Facebook. We are live here on YouTube. Normally, we go on with Blog Talk. Today, we're going to do YouTube and Blog Talk this evening. Amaru, Prince, how are you? Joel Taylor, Kevin Guyton, Derek Dunlap, Nima Israel, Darius English, Ram, Amara, Deborah Bracken. How you doing, Deborah Bracken? And Nissan, Shabazz, Cynthia, Molly, and Pamela. How's everyone doing? Now, let me say for the record, I want to offer a disclaimer. I know that a lot of people are having gnashing of teeth right now, and a lot of people are saying, well, I'm a Christian. She don't know what she's talking about. I love the Lord because he heard my cry. I love the Lord because he heard my cry and pitied my every groan. I love the Lord too, and have never stopped loving the Lord. And if most people could tell you in my family, I've always had a worshiping period. And whether I'm worshiping in the closet or in the back room, I am bowing down to something greater than myself. And I want you to know that this is no indictment that I've given up on God. I will never walk away from God. God will always be in my heart, because I know being a Christian means being a Christian in my heart, not outwardly. When you get baptized, that's an outward expression to show the world that you want to follow him. But you make that inward decision first. And that inward decision is made first. I made that inward decision a long time ago when I was just a young girl. And I followed him as much as I knew how in my efforts to sing his praises and to glorify him. And I will never stop glorifying him. I might change names of the God or of the religion that I'm following, but I'm not going to change God. I know there is one God that resides upon this earth, and God still resides on the throne. And a lot of time people get into fashion and formality, and they think that's the only ways for worshiping God. There are many ways that the Africans have created for us to be able to bow down and worship God. But it's very vital that black folks know we can't live without having an actual person that we fear in our lives that we can adhere to. We can't afford to walk away from God. And changing your faith to a traditional African faith is not walking away from God, because the European and our slave masters gave us their colonizing gods and their colonizing Christianity, which put us into slavery. And you don't want to take your master's religion and perpetuate it and call it your own when you know it was the exact thing that kept us in the slavery and held us up in the bondage. We don't want to perpetuate that all over again. That's why it's necessary, and it was necessary for me to get out of that bondage. And it's necessary for each and every one of you to make that decision to get out of that bondage. Now, we know that Bookman Dadi and John Dark Dessalines said if we would give back our slave masters' religion, that overnight we could overturn this racism and this perpetual Willie Lynch theory and get out of the slavery that we're currently in now, this high-tech lynching. We're still in a form of slavery because we're stuck in Christianity. And as long as you stay in Christianity, you will be in bondage. I don't care what you say. I don't care how much improvement they've made. That at the Nicene Council, they tricked us. They switched the Christianity and gave us a form of Roman worshiping so that we would be beholding to the Roman Empire. And you're worshiping a Roman Empire if you say you're a Christian. I don't care what you say. I can give you the books to document it. They wrote it in their own language and their own words. They told on themselves. It's not my word. This is what they told you, that they have given you a Roman theology that you are perpetuating. You don't even have the real Christianity. And if Jesus walked in here right now, he would even deny you because he was not a Christian. He don't know anything about you calling this perpetuated lifestyle Christianity because he was not a Christian and he didn't know anything about it. So why should you be? You're not looking at a black Jesus, you're looking at a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. And don't tell me that the color don't matter, because you must create someone that you worship in your own image, not someone in the likeness of a Caucasian. And not that I'm against any Caucasian, let them have their religion because they sure need it. They need it to clean up their house, to treat people better. They need a religion, but you were born here with religion voided. Spirituality on your Coptic record. You were the caller to prayer. You were the one that bowed down on your face and called out the name of God. You were the one that told people to be leery of making sure that they worship God. You were the ones who were asking them to live a righteous life. Righteousness was up in us, and it stood up in us, and we didn't need a book or a biblio to teach us how to be good and righteous. It was in us to be good and righteous. And you must get this thing clear to your head. There's no book, none on this earth, that can contain all of the sovereignty of God in it. If God was able to be contained in a book, then he would be limitless. And he is not limited. He is not limited in his ability. He is almighty. He's omnipresent. He's omniconscious. He's all-knowing. So how could he be contained in any book? If someone gives you a book, give it back to them and say, God cannot be contained in one book. So I don't want to get angry today because some people want to intimidate you because they got their Christ and they've been baptized. I've been baptized and I don't have a mind to want to go back. Well, the doors of the church are open today because you have not been baptized to the right thing. If you tell me you've been baptized in the Christian faith, you must be baptized with the fire and brimstone, knowing that in your heart that God resides there, and he gave you the ability to rise up and be a God. He didn't say that he was going to have you down here worshiping him. He said that he would know experience through you. God cannot know experience except through you. God needs us. He needs us to know experience through. He cannot just come down here and take over. He will not take over because he gave you the power to take dominion over this earth and subdue it. So why aren't you subduing it? Why are you waiting for God to do anything? He gave you the authority to do that which you need to do in your life. And you cannot be sitting down here telling me, I'm going to wait till Martin come. God's going to do this and God's not going to do any of that. He has made you God. You are God, little children, and you've already overcome them. And it's time for you to understand that this name called Christ is just a title. It is not a fictitious man that can do more than you do. God said that Jesus said that you would do more and greater things than he's done. So does that make you a Christ? Yes, because you are going to do greater things than the Christ did. Now, where are the greater things you did? Now, we talked about the terminology saved. No one is saved from anything. We all are exposed to something, and God's going to let it rain on the just and the unjust. And when we talk about salvation, each and every one of us must walk out our salvation. Wages of sin are death, and we sin unto death. And we must understand that no form of gathering will gather us away from this sin. We all are going to experience it. And we must understand that Jesus was not born through any immaculate conception, that Mary couldn't have had Jesus without a man because she only had the XX chromosome and she needed the Y chromosome, and some physical man had to penetrate her. So let's not go on with the madness. Let's stop the madness. We're out of fairy book land. We've got to come out of these allegorical stories. And the next thing we must look at, why did they borrow all of Christianity? Families, it has kept us away from being able to lobby for those things in the community. And now the churches are being held up by the government. They're given these 501(c)(3)s and told what to do and how to govern us. And they're told to keep us passive so we won't stand up against the injustice in the Penal Institute. And they've taught them that when the time comes, take your congregation and lead them over to the slaughter. Lead them over to the warehouses. It is a full instruction, and I've seen it. It's a whole document telling the preachers how to guide us and where to lead us to and to keep us passive. And they've even told the preachers that you're not allowed to get into any of these issues that pertain to black folks. Leave them alone and don't support them. Then why do you need a church if they're not going to support you? And why is these documents out in the open where other people can see them? And then the church don't want you to know that they're cohabitating with the government. The church don't want you to know that the government is giving them instructions of how to handle their congregation. I'll tell you about church. I know all about it. If I don't know anything about anything else, I know about church because I knew about the foundation because I've worked in settings where I had to help build churches from the ground up. But nevertheless, we're not talking about churches today. I said enough on them the other day. What we're talking about is the structure. Will the real Christ please stand up? I think you can stand up now because you can wear the title of Christ and you can function in a Christ-like way. But let's get back on to looking at the structure of how our church was set up. Now, you've got churches that still won't let women stand in the pulpit and say a jot or tittle. They won't even allow it. They say that it is blaspheming, and they won't even let a woman stand from the pulpit and say anything. Well, that's arsenal, and they're creating a real problem in the church for the women because most of the women that are in the congregation wear the hats, and they are not given opportunities to stand up and speak against this heresy that's being preached in the church. So many times I've gone to church wanting to say something and knew that it was heresy and knew that it was intimidating my very soul. And some of you right now are feeling the same thing, that you cannot take it anymore and that these lies and allegorical stories must stop and they must cease. Well, I'll say, if you stand up and be the real Christ for others to see, then they will see the Christ in you. And when you do speak, they will acknowledge what you're saying. But so many of us have been held hostage in these churches. I was one of them, and I admit it. Against the better judgment of my family, who told me, you're putting too much in the church is not real. I wanted so bad for the church to be real, and I gave my all in all to the church and committed myself, not only myself, but my tithes, my finances, and my commitment to being a servant. And as I was a good servant and began to serve the church well and began to move up as an evangelist, I saw that promotion only can come from God, and that the promotion that they were allowing me was dangerous because I had to be able to support the lies that they had previously told. And I refuse to continue to support any of their lies because their lies can take you to hell. And I can go to hell in a basket by myself. So I opt to get out of Christianity because there was too many lies that were being portrayed and heresy. And I wasn't going to perpetuate those lies any longer. And I'm telling you, if you are perpetuating those lies, know your history and your heritage. This is Black History Month. Know where all of the teachings came from, and know that it was a borrowed story. It was a stolen story, and they plagiarized it and changed it. And I cannot back any plagiarized documentation, and you shouldn't either. Some of you are going to make your mind up this year to walk away from Christianity. Some of you are going to make your mind up to challenge it. And when you do challenge it, make sure that you're not afraid when you look the preacher in the eye and give him the documentation and the resources to follow up on what you're saying. But do your homework. Don't just go around fornicating at the mouth and talking without any documentation. I have documentation to justify what I'm saying. I'm a rightly guided woman who studies and knows the truth. And now that I know the truth, that does not diminish my desire to love God anymore. I love God even more. And I know that God was a Black God. And I know that people are supposed to worship someone that looked like them, not someone that was their slave master. And a lot of people get on me because they think that that's racist. No, it's not racist. How are you going to bow down to somebody that's been mutilating you and kept you in slavery, and now you're going to pick up their God and worship it? It is blasphemy for you to do that. And our children are now saying that we have slowed down the progress of our own people because we've held on to this false Christianity. It's time to let go of that false Christianity. It's time to say, look, God came here and he knew no next to kin, and he created himself from himself. There's none of us that are set aside. Hebrews in all, Jews in all. God has a chosen people, and they are the Black people, the Nubian people. And some people are following up behind Jewish people, knowing that they've lied about even their existence. But I'm not going to get into that. That's another whole story. What I'm talking about, the real Christ. Who is the real Christ? Hush, God is trying to tell me something. It might be yourself. You might be the real Christ that they've been looking for. Why do you think they're trying to dispose of so many of us? Why do you think that they're killing so many of us? And they've already blasphemed our name and demonized us so that it'll be easy to strike the first blow and to eliminate us, because they want to make sure we are obliviated and not around when God decides to give us the reign to lead. Well, we're up on the year of 2019. And this is a year they say we've been out of slavery for over 200 years. It's time for us to lead. It's time for us to guide. It's time for us to know that we wear the Christ-like crown. You wear the crown, and you are the Christ, and you can behave in a Christ-like manner. Don't let people just call you a nigger and say that that's all you're going to ever be. That's their indictment of you, and that's their business of what they think of you. You don't have any business worrying about what they think of you. You've got to know who you are. You've got to look in the mirror and know that you wear that Christly crown, and you're that Christ one who carries and conducts himself in a manner that is pleasing to the eyes of God. You've got to know that. You cannot wait on someone to tell you who you are. You should already know that you are the Christ. You should already know that you carry the cross and you carry the burden for our people. And if you come on these airways to speak, then you have a burden for our people, just as I do. None of us can escape that. We've all been called with the mission to carry the good fight of faith. And as you come into these rooms, I hope you are possessing your pulpit and you are speaking the truth to power, so that some of these people will begin to see that there is no God coming after us. no Jesus, no Christ, but we must rise up and have the Christ head on our shoulders. And we must begin to live a life uncompromising. And we must understand that God has allowed himself to see through our eyes. We must give God an experience of his lifetime. We must show God the Christ that he put within us, that measure of faith, that we're able to carry it out. Now, we must stop these allegorical stories. We must stomp them in the ground. And we must begin to speak against these falsehoods about who Jesus was and who Mary was. They even lied about Jesus' brothers and sisters. In the Catholic faith, they wanted to eliminate all of James as if he didn't exist. Miriam, they pretend when Jesus had already had biblical knowledge of his brothers and sisters. How could you put them under and say that they didn't exist? A martyr out of Jesus. You're trying to make a schizophrenic out of Jesus. We have been dealing with a schizophrenic Jesus. One day he's up, the next day he's down. One day he has a family, the next day he has no siblings and brothers and sisters. Why do we keep letting this happen? We are intelligent people. We have the ability to speak against it, but we won't because we think somebody will say that we're blaspheming. Well, then God is going to hold you accountable for what you know, not for what you don't know. And it's vital that every one of you should come to your senses about this Christianity and do it fast, quick, fast, and in a hurry. If I, being a child since 11 years old, up until the time I was 62 years old, could stay with this nonsense and walk away from it, then you can too. It'll make you a better man or a better woman. And don't have any remorse in your heart. But you must come to some kind of conclusion that in order for us in these hoods, in these desecrated low-income places, are going to need a real mindset to turn us around so that we can change things in our surroundings. We're not poor. We have $1 billion purchasing power, and we have monies to do whatever we want to do. And we have to come to a conclusion that we can be the governing body over our own society, and we could take control of our own destiny. And it's very vital that you should understand on Black Love Day that you are to love somebody, not loving the one you with. And don't go telling anyone that I am perpetuating you loving the one you with. No. Make sure you love the one that has done for you and the one that has rocked you at night and taken care of you. Don't just go out there loving any old sex. And don't think love is about same-sex loving. No, you love the brother in a certain way, but not intimately. We have got to understand about this love. It's okay to love each other. We do for each other. Love is an action verb. And when we love somebody, we perform and we do for that person. It's not about intimately kissing and hugging only. It's about showing in deed and in honor. And we are dishonored today because there's so many of us fathers who have not loved our women who have borne children for us, who have not loved our children who have cried out for their fathers at night. Fathers, pick up your children. Go get them. Pick them up and tell them you love them. And tell them you plan to do that co-parenting thing where you're going to come and do for them. And you're going to be the best of friends to them. And you're going to support them. And you're never going to leave them alone again. Love is a true love that begets more love. And as you give that child love, show your mother, your queen, respect. Show her the respect that she deserves for taking on the title of being a single head of a household. Go into that home and then do for her mother and her sister and show your love on a weekly basis, not just on one day of the week. And understand that the system wants you to go away from your family. The system wants you to be alone. The system wants you to abandon all of your people and to strike out against them with violence. The system wants you to be a mutilator of your own community. Black men, you must show the world that you were born with love in you. You must show the world that you can be the man that God called you to be by turning away from carnal-minded, wicked weapons and realize that we can beat them with love. Our ability to use love. Love is powerful than a two-edged sword. And we can take love today and we can use it to desecrate our enemies, to show our enemies that we're not turning our backs on our women. We're not turning our backs on our children. We're wearing a Christly crown now. We are wearing the title of Christ now. So we know how to conduct ourselves. And we're conducting ourselves in a manner that God will be pleasing with us. Then God and we will become one. And if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I and the Father are one. We're wearing the Christly title together today. Let's put the Christly title on today and wear the crown and let people know that black men are the greatest thing that ever hit this earth and that we're not going to incarcerate them. We're not going to further indict them. We're going to free them from these prisons and they're going to release our men and stop holding them captives. And these violent and wicked men that have come out saying they have the power, they don't have any power unless God gives it to them. And if God hasn't promoted them, it is not so. We can take that power away from them. We can diminish that power anytime we want to by calling down the saints and calling down the ancestors to stand as the watchmen on the wall against their unjust deeds that they have heaped upon us. This is Black Love Day today. And I don't mean just love anyone. First, love yourself. When you first love yourself, you know you have loved God. And then when people see that you've been loved, it is easy for them to love you. But if you're downtrodden, disgraced, and always depressed, you can't love anyone else. Now, get rid of the depression, diminish the depression, and lift your heads up and keep your heads to the sky. I said, keep your heads to the sky. We must keep our heads to the sky. Come from heaven is which cometh our health. And men, your help cometh from heaven. And heaven is through the legs of a woman. You know no other heaven until you've known woman. Now, men, every time you want to go to heaven, go pick your woman up. And then you can press through to heaven. Understand that women are the gods. And they've come to help you. They've come to support you. And they've come to stand beside you, not 2 steps and behind you, but beside you. And we're not joining these feminine groups to fight against our own men and our own family. We're standing up with our men, beside our men, to fight this war together. And let's come to our senses, black men. You must go back and get your black woman. And if you still perpetuate the desire to be with a white woman, then you have decided to leave your race and you have decided to diminish your family. But you must understand that the black woman stands in need of prayer today. She's standing in the wings, waiting and rooting for you to come to your senses, to be the best man that you could be. And we know that you could be a better man. And we're calling on you to be a better man. So stand to your feet today and become righteous and be a better man. We know you can do it. If unavailable doesn't speak, I gotta hang up. Goodbye. We know that our system has been turned upside down. We have been plagued with everything you could think of, and they have tried every trick in the book. And we know that we are the chosen ones, and that is why we're the most sought after one. We know that The whole mantle of love has been broken down for Black people. The LGB has been brought in to infiltrate our schools. But we must keep up the faith and hold up the banner. Black folks will not be outloved. We will be the ones that go down in history that has the ability to overcome the world with our love. And they said in the Bible that they would know us by the way we love one another. And it's not about how we sex one another up. It's not about how we discriminate against one because we hate the Black man. It's going to be because we are going to come to our senses, our right knowledge, and like it's never been perfected before. And they will know us in the courtyards because they see how we will come to understanding of our brother's problem as our own. We will be able to understand that Black love surpasses all. It is not a love story like Jesus had with, like Mary had with her husband. And it won't be a love story like Jesus had with Mary Magdalene, but it will go farther than that. And they will be perplexed as to how we can love one another after them beating us down. So how is it upon them? There are no amount of beatings that you can put up on us that God didn't will. And God didn't will that you kill us because we are the leaders of the world and we will rule, and we will rule soon. And there's no amount of disrespect that you can put upon us that will ever crush us to the world. Once we're crushed, we will come up from the ashes, the phoenix ashes, and we will stand tall again. And we will be that Black race that surpassed all understanding. And they will wonder, how did we get over? And what was the things that allowed us to get over? And it is our Christ-like manner. We wear the title of Christ. And we are the ones that have the robes that are embraced around our shoulder. We are the Christ-like characters, and we've conducted ourselves in that manner before, and we can do it again. And we're the ones that they're looking for. There's no other false Christ out there but us. We are the ones that they've been waiting for. Elijah has already come and set the table. We set the table for Elijah. He's already come, and he's eaten his supper, and he's in us. And now that Elijah has come, Jesus says, once Elijah has come, he will set the world straight. He will set the world straight and let them know that we are his people. We are his chosen one. And don't think that we're not. To those of us who will be alone tonight, I hope you'll find your love. And if you got somebody in your life, oh, be glad you got love. Don't let the things that people say remind you of the things you're dreaming of. You've got to use your head. And above all else, I wish you love. I wish you love. There's an evil wind that's blowing over Africa, and it blows a bitter wind, yeah. And to those of us that come after him, I hope you'll find your love, find your love. And don't let the games that people play rob you of the things you're dreaming of. You've got to use your head. And above all else, I wish you love. I wish you love. I wish you love. Have a great week and a great Black Love Day. And I love you all. Oh, double, Baba Booey to you, y'all. And have a great day.